talk about this. I love that you pushed back on that phrase of like white spaces, because that's not correct language. That's reinforcing privilege, and it's a supremacist way of speaking. And for me, language is really important.
Yeah,
I love my
absolutely.
words. So what's a better way to speak about when I'm trying to describe an African American leader who does not, like, their context is not what we consider an African American in church, like it's more diverse, or the majority of this space is white. What's a better way to speak about it? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I don't know that we have the perfect language for that, because I love language too. And I love words, and I love how we describe things. But we've had to, in order to get white attention, we've had to soften things up a little bit.
White fragility, right?
White fragility.
This is what I
Okay.
wanted to talk to you about.
So diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity is a white fragility word, because
right.
When we started with this whole conversation, it started in the corporate world, the concept of diversity. That's where it has its origins, okay? And then it ended up being, rather than just having a variety of talent,
yeah,
that we worked with and that we hired and that we developed, it became a code word for, we need to hire more women and we need to hire more African Americans.
Okay. So basically what we mean by diversity is non-white, non-male.
Exactly right. Exactly.
So let's just call it that.
Exactly right. So that might be the perfect language, to walk in and say, you know what, why don't we hire 3 African American females, and just say it as it is,
yeah.
But we do have a lot of language that tamps down the white feeling, because they're so afraid, they're so emotionally detached.
Yeah.
Because to me, diversity now is not, I think it was Ava DuVernay that said that now even the word diversity just lacks emotion. Okay?
That's right.
Yeah, I thought that was really good when I read that.
Really good.
But, I think white privilege, supremacy, I do think maybe we can start to, I think that would be an interesting project, to start to shape and form our own language around some of these things that we've just moved into, so that we don't hurt white people's feelings.
Yeah, I thought to myself just now, like, what if I would have just asked that question, like, Rachel, what is it like for you to lead in the context that you do? Like, what if I didn't have to caveat a white space?
Yes.
That's just that's a human space.
Right.
And then immediately what I'm asking, because we're having a conversation about race, but I don't have to clarify that it's a white space.
Right. And I think when we think about these spaces we occupy, and we have to do that because, number one, the mass majority of people don't believe we belong in those spaces. That's my feeling. Okay, we're somewhere where we do not belong.
How else do you receive that message? Besides people telling you, oh, we don't want to hear about slavery in your sermons, or we don't want to, like, how else do you receive that message?
Let me think about that. How else do I receive that?
Because I get that, not as because of the color of my skin, but I get it because of my gender. Like, I understand the feeling of, like, I'm picking up on all these reasons why I don't belong here. So I'm just wondering, like, I know it's not the same thing, but I'm wondering, like, what are those unwritten rules that are giving that message?
Well, you're not invited to things.
Okay.
Another area probably for me, is that you hear about these engagements that your peers are involved in, but you never get the invite, because I don't think your opinion is valued as much, depending on what the context of the meeting might be. So I think, that may be it. Or when they're around you, the conversation is shallow because they don't want to have a racial conversation.
Yeah.
So there's not very much they can ask you about yourself because your experience is an African American experience.
Gotcha.
And but what I would love, and I think you and I have both read the 1619 Project, and what I love is, as we look at our society, we can see the value of the African American contribution to, agriculture, to banking, to music, to industry. There have been awesome contributions. But nobody ever talks to me about the African American contribution to anything.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. And what if somebody did? Like, what if somebody, in the context of a dinner party or a Christmas party, said to you, Rachel, like, give me your perspective on how African Americans have contributed to the economy today, the economy as we know it today, the contribution of African Americans. Like, how would that impact you if someone were to engage you in that kind of dialogue?
I would love to talk about the inventions, the stop and go light. That was an African American that was an African American invention. Stop and go light. Fire equipment suits, African American invention.
Oh.
Okay, so that saves lives and the whole nine. Okay, if we talk about heart surgery, it was an African American man who worked at Johns Hopkins with DeBakey. Okay, and he showed Alfred Blaylock how to save blue babies. Wow. Okay, and he did the dog surgeries and took DeBakey through how to work on hearts. Okay, so I would love to just sit and talk about those kinds of things. And matter of fact, the name of the movie that talks about the gentleman from Johns Hopkins is Something the Lord Made. Wow. That's the name of that movie. And it's a beautiful depiction of his life and, how he was paid $15 an hour, but he was showing people how to do intricate surgeries. $15 a week, I think it was at first, yes. And he was doing intricate surgeries. Wow. So it is, see, Kelly, that's the other thing that we deal with is white Americans do not feel we're very smart. And I think that's one thing that bugged people about Barack Obama, is that he was so dadgum smart.
So smart. And
he had an Ivy League education. He went to y'all schools.
Wow.
And so I think that was a thing, because America has gone to great lengths to say that we don't have intellect. Our brains are smaller. We can't learn. And we see it in American football. How long has it taken for an African American, how long did it take for an African American male to be the quarterback?
Wow.
And it's because they didn't think we were cerebral enough to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and then when you get to medicine, we're weaker, or we don't feel pain.
Mm.
That dehumanizes us.
So it's deeply, what I hear you saying is these beliefs that were we to say them out loud, perhaps a white person would say, oh, I don't believe that. But what I hear you saying is they're so deeply ingrained, like they're the water that we swim in,
Yes.
so much
Yeah,
so that we don't even see it as water. It's
exactly.
literally, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where we get privilege from.
right,
Okay. Because it's not anything that you even have to think about.
right.
You're just going through life.
Yeah.
I have to think about talking to my kids about how to speak to a police officer because you may get stopped at any time. I have to talk about um, how we um, show the confidence that we have in groups of people. I have to say, speak up. I need you to speak up. I need you to talk about who you are and what you know, what you're reading.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And because again, white America, by and large, they feel we're stupid.